ish live stream, 1 a.m. ish Eastern Standard Time. As I was saying, I do two streams, one at 1 p.m., one at 1 a.m. because my audience apparently is like me and doesn't like going to sleep. I just came back from a great Masters night. So it's wonderful to be here once again. I'm going on an adventure, so I wanted to make sure I talked about that, what it's going to look like, and why it's important that if you do support Square Compass Promotions, you follow me on all of my social media sites, which is absolutely critical, especially in the coming weeks or so if you want to support me. Thank you so much for being here, though. I truly, truly appreciate it. So for now, let's just give it a bit of time. Let's see who else joins. And as always, what you want to talk about when it comes to Freemasonry. And then I'll talk to you guys about my adventure. By the way, June 23rd, fireworks, 6 p.m. Eastern. Let's watch those together. Ask me about my adventure, I guess, could be something we say. But thank you so much, everybody, again, for being here. Like, subscribe, etc., etc. We're just going to wait for the audience to show up before I start talking specifically about what my adventure shall be and why I'm so excited for it. But I do hope everybody's doing well. Well, you know my adventure. It's going to be the Philippines and South America. So you'll be following because you already follow me on social media. So I think it'll be okay for you. You'll be able to follow it, but everybody be like my dad and follow what my dad does. Follow me on social media. That way, you can see what's happening with Freemasonry around the world. There's a special celebration in the Philippines, and then in South America, there's a celebration of 90 years of Freemasonry in South America, Brazil specifically. So I think that's worth celebrating. It's worth Square and Compass checking out. But thank you, everybody, for being here. I truly, truly appreciate it. Though, Dad, you're staying up way too late. Way too late. It's past your bedtime. Smokey the Clown, I'm doing well. How are you doing? Thank you for being here. I hope everybody is doing well and having a great day, great night. Good, Smokey. I'm glad that you are doing great. Anything coming up that you're excited about? Anything going on in your life that you're excited about? Well, so Masonry has no opinion. Masons themselves will have opinions. I mean, I would assume it probably skews in Freemasonry a little bit more conservative in terms of their views. I feel like that's just like because it's a little bit older demographic sometimes, but I've never heard any Masons talk about like drugs specifically one way or the other. I know some who, and again, when you say drugs, I assume you're talking about illicit drugs, like many Masons drink alcohol, many Masons like myself don't, many smoke, many don't. So there's different types of, drugs don't necessarily mean illicit or illegal. What I would say is what Freemasonry would say, though, is when you're attending a meeting, obviously, when you are joining, when you're being initiated, you don't want to, be using substances at that point, that's for sure. And then there are some jurisdictions where they're dry. So, for example, in like Texas, they are not allowed to consume any alcoholic beverages in a Masonic building. So it just really depends on the jurisdiction, but Masons themselves have a variety of opinions on substances, drugs, which one should be legal, which one should be illegal. Some, like me, are teetotalers. It really just depends. It's a plant. Are you calling me a plant? I don't know what that means because Dee Dee said I look like a cop. Well, cops are very handsome, so I guess it makes sense I look like a cop, right? I assume by that you mean cops are very handsome. Uh, Grogos. Okay, so that's kind of a little bit different what you're saying, Grogos, but welcome, Grogos. Thank you for being here. Yeah, there's definitely, there's two views on it. The first is kind of the political ideals about whether which drugs should be legal, which drugs should be illegal, the best way to deal with substance abuse. And that's one topic. But then there's the Masonic charitable and outreach side of things, like Masonic Charitable Foundation, for example, which absolutely has in the past, um, um, given money to different programs, some of which do help people with drug addiction. Sometimes it's people with drug addictions who are living on the street. Sometimes it's people with drug addictions who looking for outpatient treatment. So um, weed is legal in Canada, but I've never done it. My drugs of choice has always been caffeine because I love coffee, and I did smoke cigarettes off and on, but not. I didn't smoke many cigarettes. I only smoked cigarettes at Masonic meetings after the meetings were finished. Yeah, so, but again, that's one of those things where, Masons are going to have very different opinions on it. I know some Masons, when we kind of talk about these things, just shooting the breeze. Some are very anti making marijuana legal. Some are very pro. It really just depends. So, um, I kind of agree with Chris. Having said that, I don't, my personal opinion, I don't see any reason to keep it illegal. I think ultimately it's probably no more or less harmful than alcohol or even cigarettes, like tobacco. So, um, but Chris, Chris is certainly well within his rights to have that belief, and I do tend to be, whether I think it should be legal or not, I do tend to be pretty what's the word I'm looking for? Pretty suspicious of the extent to which substances, when not prescribed by a doctor, can be helpful. But, that's just my opinion. Are you pretty close to joining? Well, that is, Grogos, Gogos. I'm going to call you Gogo. Um, you have just described what almost every Mason goes through in some point or another, trying to find the time to, like, because if you had, let's say, joined before you put down roots, you would still be in this predicament now of, now that you've got, you're settled, you've got a family, you have kids or a kid, you'd still be struggling to find the time to be part of it, right? And every Mason is kind of struggling with how to balance their work and family commitments with Freemasonry. Um, some, would say if you start later and your kids are older and they're maybe out of the house, maybe you'll have more time. Some will say start when you're young before you have kids. But trying to find that balance is a real challenge. And the fact that you recognize that before you even join, I think is actually really, really, really impressive. The fact that you recognize that it will be a challenge. So good for you on that. I think that's to your credit. I mean, like I said, how do I put this? I do sometimes think that there's probably a healthier way to approach things. But again, I've known people who have used psychedelics for a variety of reasons and found it to be very, found it to be actually incredibly helpful to them. So I don't know. I've just never done it myself. So I can't say. Welcome, by the way, if you're just joining us. What I will say though, again, is one of the best things about Freemasonry is that for those who have substance use addictions, they have provided charitable assistance in different jurisdictions, such as the Masonic Charitable Foundation (MCF) out of um, England. And when it comes to drug addiction, has anybody here ever heard of the Rat Town, I think it's called, or Mice Town. Let me see if I can find the... I'm trying to think what it was called now. I think it might have been Rat Town. Rat Park. Has anybody here heard of the Rat Park studies? This has to do with masonry, I promise. This is something I learned when I was a probation officer. Do you know about the Rat Park drug addiction experiment, which I'll talk about? I'll just let people vote. Behavioral and science. So it sounds like Gogo may have heard of it. But I'm going to talk to you about why it's so important to Freemasonry in just one moment. I'm just going to wait to give people a chance to find it. We got 5 votes. I seen it. I had to learn about this for my work back in the day. 4, looks like 3 no, 2 yeses. I mean, some people watching, so I'm going to give it, let's say, 2 more minutes just to see who else finds it, and then we'll go from there. Howard Poole. It's really interesting. And again, it does apply to Freemasonry. You might not realize it, but it does, and I'll talk about how and why it does in just one second. Welcome if you're just joining us. You're like me, you're one of these night owl people, I guess, who likes to stay up late, so I appreciate you being here very much. 6 votes, looks like 4 no and 2 yeses. So, Rat Park was a experiment. I'm going to use, even though I know about it, just for simplicity, I'm going to use the Wikipedia article. Because it's just a little bit easier. Too warm, couldn't sleep. Okay, well then I'm happy you're here. So it's a series of drug addiction studies conducted in the late 1970s and published between 1978 and 1981 at British Columbia, Canada. So what they did is they created this rat park, and they would give rats could drink fluid from one of 2 dispensers, which automatically recorded how much each rat drank. One dispenser contained basically a drug addicting substance. It was water containing morphine. The other was plain tap water. And the morphine solution was sweetened, so it would actually taste better than the just plain water. Right? And then there's a number of experiments designed to test the rat's willingness to consume the morphine. Basically, they would give certain rats were put in a park which was very bereft of things to do. It didn't have, anything to occupy their time with, didn't have any game for them to play, didn't have any, a lot of rats. It was very isolated. They were kind of all alone. They didn't have a lot of friends, things of that nature, right? And as a result of that, in that particular park, the rats were more likely to drink the morphine laced water, especially if they were more isolated and there were fewer of them, right? Didn't have anything to do, didn't have anything to keep themselves busy. Whereas for those rats were put in a rat park that had things to do, games to play, plenty of food, a lot of rats to get along with, they were less likely to drink from the morphine laced water, right? They did not, Sean. They did not. Maybe this was at a time before they were giving rats the consent. Although they were given the freedom to choose which water to consume, that laced with morphine or that laced without. And anyways, what they found is rats that were in environments that had things to do, games, things to occupy them mentally, as well as they weren't isolated and alone, but with other rats, were less likely to consume the morphine-laced water, and when they did not consume it as often or as frequently, and did not show any signs, or it's the signs of addiction that you saw when you had the other rats in the other park that was bereft of things to do, barren, and more isolated. And that just kind of went to show that oftentimes, yes, part of the addiction is the nature of the substances itself and the way that it causes brains to change and chemical dependence. But often, a lot of what you see in addiction and the choices around starting is more related to an unhealthy environment, lacking mental supports, lacking social supports. And so, from a Masonic perspective, why I bring that up is, again, if somebody has, maybe they don't have the greatest home life, maybe they're feeling isolated, maybe they don't feel like they have a lot to keep themselves occupied with. But if they join a Masonic lodge, now they've got memory work, now they've got brothers, now they've got things to do, now they have places to be. It still is possible they may develop a drug addiction, but it's less likely based on this experiment and other things I've read, because they have things to give them a sense of purpose and desire and friendship and support, and to occupy their minds outside of trying to turn to a substance or turn exclusively to a substance. So, I think, at least in terms of addictions per se, I think Freemasonry, I believe, would certainly fight against addiction amongst its members and encourage those members who may have addictive issues to seek help to remain part of the lodge. Well, I mean, I'm sure, from what I understand, they gave the rats a proportional dosage. So that, they gave the rats less than a human would take, obviously, because rats are so much smaller, but it would affect them proportionally the same way. Kind of like, somebody who is 3 times my size and drinks a cup of coffee may not have the same effects that I do from the cup of coffee. But to work around that, they gave the rats a smaller dosage, but that would be equivalent to maybe what a human might take. And then what they found also is, again, as the rats who were in the non-supportive, dull, depressing park were drinking more and more of the morphine-laced water, they were drinking it more and more frequently because they built up a tolerance, right? I don't support idol worship. What do you mean by that, the Skywalker? Although when you say Skywalker, are you idolizing Star Wars? They may have had to. I mean, it kind of been fun for some of those rats. Why are you blaming Canada? Canada's wonderful. I'm from Canada. It's my favorite place in the world. Canada is the greatest country in the world because we have the greatest neighbors in the world. Um, okay, so that's interesting, Howard Poole. And I guess there is some truth to that, right? You have to be careful because, rats and people are not the same thing. And, there are differences. But I guess what I would say is, like, I do believe in evolution. So, to me, rats, people, we had a common ancestor millions of years ago, back, maybe it was when the fish first swam out of the ocean and made it to dry land. But there is a point at which we had a common ancestor. And so I've always believed that you can learn something about humans by studying nature, and on different levels, right? So you can learn a lot about humans by studying the way mammals interact with each other, the way primates interact with each other, maybe less so the way, say, lizards interact, but it's because different evolutionary branches. But that's my opinion. Um, Still, the Skywalker, when you say I don't support idol worship, I'm curious what that means. I agree, Go. I think that's right. I worked in a jail for about 5 years, and I was a probation officer for about 5 years. And that's my experience as well. It becomes different types of addictions, overeating, sleeping around, sexual addiction. It's when it starts to interfere with your ability to exist day to day, whether it be existing financially, time management, family. if you're playing video games 24 hours a day to the point where you're not able to work, not able to be with your family, not able to be with your friends, not taking care of yourself, not showering, whatever it is, then it's an addiction. That's probably as dangerous as, a chemical. Well, I mean, I don't know where, like, I've been told we're close to pigs. I think obviously we're closest to, like chimpanzees, and apes and kind of primates, but close is a relative term, right? Um, I've known a few people I would describe as a monkey's uncle, so it does not shock me that that might be the case. But I do hope everybody is doing well. Thank you so much for being here. Please take a moment, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I was saying I'm going on an adventure. I'm going to be going to the Philippines, going to Rio very soon. It's going to be a blast, which is why it's so important if you get the chance, you please follow my socials. Because on my socials, I'll be, taking pictures of all the different Masonic events I'll be going to in places I've never been to before. So it's absolutely going to be incredible, and a pretty amazing opportunity. And thank you for the people who invited me there. I truly appreciate that. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate that. I hope I try to find that balance, right? Because I feel like this isn't, I don't want to be, I want to be informative, but I don't want to be not chill. I want to be relaxed, right? Because there's a time to be not chill, but you should go for chill more than anything else. I've never heard of that one before, Heed, but that sounds interesting. I mean, I don't know what would be scarier, to be the human in the rat's body or the rat in the human's body. I think either way it'd be quite a scary thing. Oh, I'm sorry, Caitlin. Cats become part of your family. I love cats, so I'm incredibly sorry, about that. Welcome if you are just joining us, 1:33 a.m. here in Eastern Standard Time. Please take a moment, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let me know how you're doing, and let me know if there's anything that you want to talk about when it comes to Freemasonry. Any thoughts you have, positive, negative, or neutral, I'd love to hear them. Let me know if you heard my discussions on Rat Park and, um, why it is, that I think that experiment can be applicable to, Freemasonry, and kind of demonstrates the importance of Freemasonry. But I do hope everybody is doing well and having a great night. Out of curiosity, let me do this as a poll question next. It is a habit. Now, honestly, it doesn't. I mean, I'm not a doctor. I'm not an expert on this stuff. If it's a single glass of gin and it's not going beyond that, then it sounds to me like a habit and probably not something that's harmful to her at this point. So long as also she's seeing her doctor and all the rest of it. But you want to watch those things, right? And you want to be extra careful and make sure that, um, like just make sure, like you said, that you're being careful. I think that's very important because habits can start to turn over time, right? Habits can become more and more necessary. And if that is the case, then that does, I think, become an issue. I don't know what that means. I promise you, at least the Freemasons are not involved in any alien invasions, but of course, that is what one would say if one was involved. Um, I've never drank anything, so I have no idea. I wish I could help you with that one. There are actually a few Masonic like companies, kind of like a Masonic beer company making like craft brewing, and we have done in Freemasonry during the pandemic. We did a virtual beer tasting and a virtual whiskey tasting, and they were actually a lot of fun. And it wasn't too hard, so I was really proud of those. Sometimes I felt during the pandemic that people got a little bit too, like, I understand why you get down and sad this pandemic, but there were still things you could do, even while you're locked down, right? And they were really, really cool things. You just had to be creative about it. But if you're willing to be creative, you could find some pretty incredible things. So I was really proud of that work. I agree, Gogos. I think that's a good definition. Again, something can be problematic and be moving towards an addiction phase. You kind of always need to pay attention to those things, and not assume just because it's not an addiction now, it won't become one if you're not careful. In my oh so humble opinion. That is to me oftentimes a sign when you get to a point where not having one affects you mentally and affects your ability to like treat people well. I think that is absolutely a problem. So I would support you on that one. Welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. Please take a moment, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know if you know about Rad Park, and let me know if there's anything you want to chat about when it comes to Freemasonry. Okay, well, I believed and still believe that Masons had a responsibility to do, to follow whatever the health guidelines were, wherever they are. It's different because there are different lockdowns, different places, different length of time, different rules. I'm not going to say I was perfect. I don't think anybody was, but I did my best to try to abide by, the lockdown rules as they came. But work within them to still create some compelling Masonic experiences, like, again, virtual beer and cheese tasting, virtual whiskey tasting, which were absolute, wonderful, awesome things that I really loved. They were a lot of fun. And they weren't that hard to organize, Do you still need to be invited, have someone vote for you? So you need to be sponsored. You need to have two sponsors, but they're not going to necessarily invite you. Rather, you approach them, express your interest, they get to know you, and then they can sponsor your application. And there can be more than two sponsors. There can be, you can have as many sponsors as you want. But yeah, you have to have sponsors, but it's not about being invited. Rather, you have to, what's the word I'm looking for? You have to approach them first. Life is what you make of it. I agree. I agree with that 100%. And I hope that Freemasonry helps some people make the most out of it. That I think to me should be the goal. Welcome if you're just joining us. Thank you for being here. Please jump in the chat, say hello, hit the like and subscribe button, and let me know what you want to talk about when it comes to Freemasonry. Any thoughts you have, positive, negative, or neutral, I would love to hear it. As I said, I'll be going on an adventure. The Philippines is celebrating a very special event, as is Rio. I'm going to tell you what those are in just 1 second. That's going to be kind of the main topic of today's stream. Not me, because I feel if God wants me, he's going to take me. See, he'll do that. See, Smokey, I've always kind of, one of the stories, and again, I'm not a Christian, so I could be misunderstanding this story or misinterpreting it. And if I am, please let me know. But one story I always really liked from the Bible was, I believe it was Jesus, was saying that he's the son, telling people he's the Son of God, he is God, etc., etc. And so somebody takes him up to the roof of a building and says, well, if you're the Son of God, jump off, you should be fine, right? You should be able to fly or not be injured on your way down, right? And Jesus said, like, don't mock, I'm not going to make a mockery out of God. What he's saying is, God set up the world in a certain way, set up certain rules. You don't get to just be testing these things and thinking these are going to be okay. So when it comes to like sickness, right? One of the reasons I stopped smoking is because obviously I could get lung cancer, right? It could happen. I could say, well, if God wants me, he'll take me. but I'm not going to do things that will make it easier for him to get to me. I feel like that kind of is not what you should do. Rather, you should try to whatever extent you can to be respectful of the way the world is set up, be respectful of things like disease, not be afraid of it, still live your life, but try to be respectful of the things that can hurt you. A healthy respect for those things, lest you make a mockery of God. If again, okay, so Canine Cavern. I think you're new to this stream, Canine Cavern. Thank you, Howard Poole. I appreciate that as well. That was talk. He said, "Do not test the Lord your God." So Canine. I could be getting it completely wrong, but am I kind of getting the story right? Which is again, Jesus didn't jump off the roof because it would have been kind of testing God or making a mockery of God in some ways, and that's not what it's about. If I'm getting that story correct, let me know, Canine. I might be getting it wrong. And I kind of feel that way with Freemasonry. It kind of has a similar lesson of do the right thing. Don't kind of rely on this idea of, if God wants me, he'll take me. But rather try to act in such a way that, reason would dictate. Wonderful. Thank you, Canine. Canine, I hope you hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you so much for being here. I truly, truly appreciate it. And let me know, Canine, if you have any questions about Freemasonry. Positive thoughts, negative thoughts, neutral parts. I'd love to try and answer them for you. I can't promise you I'll be able to answer everything, but I've been in Freemason since 2007. So, yeah. Not really. That kind of stuff was added after the fact. Freemasonry is evolved from stonemasonry or stonemasons. So European guilds who, built things out of stone. They built anything from castles and cathedrals to, farmhouses, whatever, wherever they could get paid for their work. They had teachings on the practical side of how to build things out of stone. We then took those and applied them metaphorically to ourselves. So, a stonemason would talk about would talk about a square, like the tool, the square, the 90-degree angle. We'll talk about the tool and the way you use it to make sure a stone is of the proper dimensions and proper angles. We would take a square and use it metaphorically to think about things like what is square conduct, what is acting with justice, things of that nature. Okay, so you're kind of related, right? Woodworker versus stonemason. I'm sure there were woodworker guilds back in the day too, but stonemason guilds were much bigger in the Middle Ages, right? And then we kind of developed our own rituals, and in those rituals, King Solomon is referenced, but again, it's metaphorical. It's this idea of King Solomon's Temple is an amazing historical / biblical example of stonework and stone architecture. So it makes sense that that's something that we would kind of incorporate into our stuff. But it was a reverse thing. It was Freemasonry started looking around for things that could be used for metaphorical teachings, found King Solomon's Temple, and kind of went from there. So if that makes any sense at all. I hope it did. Sadly, you cannot order your Freemasonry. You can order your masonry, but you're going to have to pay for it. I can come and try to build your wall, but I'm going to fail miserably. I can't build anything. I am, as they say, a speculative mason, which means I cannot build anything to save my life. No worries, Smokey. I just appreciate you being here. All right, so hello, 8888. Who you can't see because the moderators hit him on the chat, but he jumped in there and I could see his message. He said to me, "You're gay ASF. You're gay as F." Well, I'm sure there are some people who might consider that to be an insult, but you can think about me whatever you want. It's no bothers me one way or the other. That's not going to bother me. And Freemasonry welcomes men of, gay or straight. So I'd be fine either way. I could be a Mason either way. I did a thing. I did a podcast episode about Freemasonry and Pride Month because in United Kingdom, in England, the several Masonic lodges took part in Pride Month in a Pride Month march in London. I talked to one of the men who took part in the Pride Month, who organized kind of who took part in it, who was kind of one of the main people involved in marching in Pride as a Mason, and I thought that was awesome. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. I truly appreciate it. I hope that you are doing well. Please, once again, hit that like and subscribe button. Let me know how you're doing and if there's anything that you want to talk about. Yeah, I like the rainbow flag. I think it's an all right design. And the thing about the colors that works so well is you can put it into other things. So if you want to celebrate Pride in Canada, you can, have a maple leaf, but put the pride colors in the leaf. If you wanted to do that with, let's say, America, you could do it with like stars in the flag, or just a star, right? Not in the flag per se, but people would recognize it. So, Steve Fox says hello. Hello, Steve. I hope that you're doing well. Thank you for being here as always. Please take a moment to hit that like and subscribe button if you get the chance. If you're new, if you're not new and you've already done that, then thank you for being here. I truly, truly appreciate it. That's a good way to look at it. Greetings. Greetings, Steve. I should start my I really should start starting my streams that way. In fact, I'm going to start my streams that way. From now on, whenever I start a stream, I'm going to say greetings to my people. Even if nobody is watching, I'm going to say it just that way too. I'm going to say greetings to my people. So Steve, look what you've started. I will tell you in 3 minutes. I'm just doing something quick. I wanted to see if a few more people jump on, but we have some really special things coming up. So I'm excited. And the Philippines is one of those locations, Manila, actually. And Freemasonry is huge in the Philippines. Okay, so let's just deal with this quickly. There we go. Yeah, Filipinos are a major, Freemasonry is huge over there, and there's so many lodges in North America where it is like Filipino majority. So there is, I agree, all hail Steve. So, we're kind of heading into summer on a big adventure in a lot of different ways. Tonight, I took part in Masters Night as the Master of Border, Border Cities Lodge number 554, and also had a Harmony Lodge meeting. That was at my home, Windsor Masonic Temple. Tomorrow, I'm taking part in the final meeting before summer of my mother lodge, Windsor Lodge 403, which is going to be a typical business meeting, but that's going to be a lot of fun. We're bringing in some new people. It's going to be great. Then, and also I'm going to see a brother, a Masonic brother, graduate from law school, which I look forward to doing that as well. Then Saturday in Essex, Ontario, which is small town, kind of about 20 minutes from Windsor, we have our Essex County Fish Fry, which I'll be taking part in, which is going to be a blast as well. It's an annual tradition. We have fish, we have chips, we have tartar sauce, we have potato salad, we have all sorts of great stuff. We have desserts. It's for Masons of the district and friends and family. And it's kind of a fundraiser. So I have those 3 days happening in a row, and that's a blast. And that's not unusual. I often have 5 or 6 Masonic events in a row. It's very common. But then Saturday, after that is finished, I'll be taking an all-night bus heading to Chicago, one of my absolute, no worries, Jackson, one of my favorite cities in the entire planet. I adore it. Chicago's incredible. I'm going to Chicago to celebrate Morton Grove Lodge number about 4 years, but the live stream's about 6 months, if that. So I'm still kind of new to live streaming. I'll be going to the Morton Grove annual installation of officers, which takes place June 8th at Glenview Masonic Temple in Glenview, Illinois, which is north of Chicago. It's a northern suburb. I love Chicago. I love Glenview. I consider those to be my happy places. Whenever I'm there, I always feel incredibly happy and feel like I'm home. I absolutely feel like home. So yes, I'll be going to Chicago Saturday night. I leave. I take the all-night bus. I arrive Sunday morning. And then from Chicago, I go to Glenview in order to check out my brothers in Morton Grove, get installed in their chairs. And then, this is where it starts to get fun. Morton Grove is a heavily Filipino lodge, a lot of Filipino Masons in it. There is on June 12th, 2025, at the historic Rizal Memorial Gardens in Manila in the Philippines, they're having a ceremonial celebration graced by local international dignitaries, including the President of the Philippines, joining us in celebrating Independence Day and paying tribute to the heroism of our national hero and brother Mason, Jose Rizal. So I'll be jumping on a plane from Chicago and heading to the Philippines. I've never been there before. I can't wait to visit my Masonic brothers there. I think it's going to be absolutely incredible. And it's actually the Filipino Independence Day again, June 12th, 2025. Well, Jackson, thank you for being here, but you should go to sleep. Go to sleep. And then there's also at the Fiesta Pavilion at the Manila Hotel a World Conference of Masonic Fraternity, which I'll be taking part in as well. So it's going to be I get that I sometimes get no sleep as well, so don't worry. We'll be attending that Manila Hotel, getting to see some brothers, getting to see some people I've never met before, and learning about Freemasonry in a jurisdiction that's always treated Freemasonry incredibly, incredibly well. Then I will be heading across the world, literally. Let me see actually if I can find this. Got to go to Instagram to find this info again. To check out the Grand Lodge of South America, Northern Jurisdiction, otherwise known as SAND, because on June 14th, DGL Stand on June 14th, 2025 in Rio de Janeiro. They are celebrating the 90th anniversary of the District Grand Lodge of South America, Northern Division, under the United Grand Lodge of England, the remarkable journey of English Freemasonry in Brazil. To commemorate this historic occasion, a special celebration will be held during our annual district meeting on the 14th of June in Rio de Janeiro. So I cannot wait to take part in that. It's going to be incredible to see. Yeah, Billy, I just saw that now. I'm going to be removing you from the stream because I did not see that before. Wherever I can find you now. If I could find, there it is. There you go. He's gone now. And yeah, so I've been incredibly lucky to, in person, travel to many locations in the States, in Canada, learning about Freemasonry. This will be my first time learning about Freemasonry in person in places outside of North America. And I absolutely cannot wait to be there. So it's going to be an adventure. I was saying these normal streams, I do these normal streams at 1 p.m. and then 1 a.m. and I love doing them. While I'm traveling, it's going to be on a lot of flights. A lot of those flights are going to be very long. They will be during times I normally stream. So I won't be able to do as many streams as normal. Instead, to see what I'm up to learn about how Freemasonry is relevant in places like the Philippines, Rio, find me on social media. The best way to find me on social media is ask to join my mailing list. https squareandcompass.ca/contact. Ask to join those. Once again, squareandcompass.ca/contact, and that's the best way. Oh, Dennis is here. Okay, I did earlier, but I'll explain it again, Dennis. Thank you for being here, by the way. So Rat Park was an experiment done in the late 80s where they took groups of rats and put them into different environments or different parks. Some of these environments were full of things to do, and rats were able to interact with each other and be social with each other, and have things to stimulate them physically and mentally. They had little puzzles. And some of these habitats or parks were barren. There was nothing to do. They were kept isolated from each other, or there was less of them. That type of thing. And then in each park, the rats were given two different types of water they could choose to drink from. One was just regular tap water. The other was a sweetened water that also had morphine in it. And what they found is in those environments or parks, which there was things to do and which the rats enjoyed being in, they were much less likely to drink the morphine-laced water. And if they did, they're much less likely to drink it regularly or continually. Racer, that is an honor. I'm honored because I love John Cena. He's my favorite professional wrestler. I have a tattoo, inspired by John Cena. So thank you, Racer. I appreciate that even more than if you hit like and subscribe, but I still hope you hit the like and subscribe button. So the reason I bring that up is to show, from a Masonic perspective, I think what Masonry provides in the world and to the world, social connections, intellectual stimulation, intellectual discussions, a sense of purpose, things to do, and being with others is a kind of a social safety net that may be a protective factor against people falling into, despair related situations like drug addiction or overeating or other things like that. So that is my opinion on that. because somebody was asking above about, it's kind of Freemasonry and drugs kind of came up. Welcome, Andy. Thank you for being here. I hope you will hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you, everybody who's joined so far. I truly appreciate it. If you want to follow my journeys, like I said, squareandcompass.ca/contact, you will be able to, keep up with what I'm up to, and I'll add you to my mailing list, and then I will send you links to all of my different social media sites. Thank you, Beyond Screen. I hope things are going well in India. If you have not done so yet, to everybody watching this, I hope you will hit the like button and subscribe button. I would truly appreciate it. If you've already done that, then thank you for being here. I do still have a ton of work to do. I haven't even packed yet. It's going to be exhausting. So I'm going to probably end this stream relatively soon. Really, I'm on this stream more than anything else just to tell people, please, 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 if you get the chance, follow me on my socials, because I want to be sharing what I'm doing with everybody on my social media channels. Join my mailing list. You'll get the info that way. I think it's really important that I share that, because if my goal is to explore the ways in which Freemasonry was and is relevant to the world, then I have to travel to these places around the world and share the travels with you. And also it helps to kind of goose the algorithm, right? It kind of helps focus on kind of the algorithmic nature of things. I do hope everybody, though, is doing well. Please take a moment to hit the like and subscribe button. Let me know how you're doing, and if there's anything that you want to chat about when it comes to Freemasonry. Positive, negative, or neutral, I would love to hear it. I'll take either, because they're both incredible, Steve, but I'm a huge John Cena fan. I think he's amazing. He is my favorite professional wrestler, probably of all time. No, Dennis, I'm so sorry. I still haven't done it yet. I feel bad. I was going to, I promise, but then I started organizing my trip, which was a pain in the butt. I mean, I guess I can't complain. It's going to be incredible, but I needed a visa for Brazil. I had to do that. You had to organize stopovers in different locations. There's a stopover in Dubai. It was a whole thing and a half. So, Nikhil Kumar, welcome. Thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. I hope you'll hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you so much for joining us. You're like me, or a night owl, up at 1 a.m. I will not do that, Dean. I will not do that at all. That seems like a terrible idea. I can think of a few ideas that seem worse, in fact, than that. Maybe doing that and, well, nobody take Dean P's advice. I feel like I'm going to get sued if anybody tries it. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I hope everybody is doing well. Please take a moment, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let me know how you're doing. If there's anything that you want to talk about when it comes to Freemasonry, any thoughts you have, positive, negative, or neutral, I would love to hear it. I feel like I have to give survival tips now after that. Whether my survival tips are any good or not is a whole other can of tuna. Interesting in terms of the poll question. The rat thing is, rat part, no is 58, but yeses are higher than I thought they would be. So I'm happy people have heard more about that. By the way, I got to say, just on a side note, I have been loving the most recent episode of or not recent episode, most recent season of Leverage Redemption. I think it's a really great show. I think there's some interesting Masonic connections between Leverage Redemption and Freemasonry and what both are trying to do. So if you get the chance, you have Prime Video, Leverage Redemption is what you watch, or what I would recommend that you watch. So. Trying to figure out how many other people I can tag on this post here. Welcome if you're just joining us. I don't know. So Freemasonry, to give you the most basic rundown, Freemasonry is a social group, an umbrella term that refers to many different social groups that evolved from stonemason guilds in the Middle Ages into the social groups we have today. The way these different social groups interact with each other is through what we would call regularity or recognition. Freemasonry is a majority fraternal organization. So most of these groups within Freemasonry would be fraternities, men only, but there are several women's groups in Freemasonry as well, which are incredible and part of the family. I will take a video of the Earth, but the flat earthers will find me anyways, and I'll have to deal with that. So either way. Shot Drone says, "Yo, welcome, Shot Drone. I hope you hit the like and subscribe button. By the way, Howard, I've been a Mason since 2007, so about 20 years. And I truly believe that what Freemasonry provides more than anything else is the opportunity to fight for a better world. It doesn't make you rich, doesn't, make you famous, as a lot of scammers like to claim. But rather it gives you opportunity to pool your abilities and talents with others and fight for a better world. Also, other fun little facts, Freemasonry, the founding of the first Grand Lodge, so kind of our origin in terms of our date was June of 1717. So we're in our birth month for Freemasonry. And that took place in England at the Goose and Gridiron. So I hope that at least provided you with some interesting information, some interesting bits of information. Let me know if it did, if it didn't. Oh, excuse me. And if you have any other questions or thoughts, or if maybe what my explanation kind of gave you some ideas. Yeah, definitely a lot of people, Steve. You're 100% correct about that. Whether it's most is in like a majority, I don't know, but it's more than I'd like it to be, that's for sure. That's definitely for sure. Thank you, Dennis. I appreciate that. I hope I have safe travels as well. Nowadays, I'll knock on wood, because flying in 2025 is a little bit frightening sometimes, I think, compared to flying previously. But I think I'm looking forward to it nonetheless. Life's an adventure, right? So take the adventure with me by following me on social media. Well, people, some people like to, create conspiracies just to make themselves feel better, and sometimes Masons can become like an easy target for that, unfortunately. I'm happy because, especially having no legs, I was born 1983, and I'm very happy to have been born 1983. I think it would have been very different for me in my life if I had been born earlier than that. So, I can't really complain about 2025 and about woke and all that stuff. I think it's okay. I think it's okay. That is true. Life is too short to take it too seriously, especially yourself. So just try your best. That's all you can do. Sometimes, sometimes your best isn't good enough, but oftentimes your best is good enough. You just have to kind of figure it out. If that made any sense at all. I don't know if it did. Free spirit is good. Being a free spirit is really, really good. I think for me, I've always kind of felt a bit like a free spirit myself. The extent to which I'm successful or not at being a free spirit is another story. By the way, I've been talking about the Enlightenment period on the stream a bunch, and today, as a gift, our district deputy gave some people copies of the works of Voltaire, which is pretty incredible. Voltaire being a famous Enlightenment thinker, so I thought that was really, really cool. But I do hope everybody is doing well. It is 2:13 in the morning, and I have a bunch of work I got to do tomorrow, so I'm probably going to be going to sleep very shortly. But I do appreciate everybody being here. Before I go, please take a moment, hit the like, subscribe button, and remember kind of the main topic of today, right? Which is follow me on social media so you can be part of the adventure. Um, Thank you guys, though, so much. Perhaps what I will do is call this stream today. Um, I will be back tomorrow at my 1 p.m. stream. At least I hope to be. I am going to a friend's graduation ceremony, a brother's graduation ceremony from law school, which is going to be incredible. I was thinking maybe checking out the old school while I was there, the old haunting grounds, seeing some spots that I could hang out at. But that is for tomorrow. For tonight, thank you again for being here. Respect for you as well, Steve. Maybe I will see you guys tomorrow on the stream, 1 p.m. Eastern. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and bye for now. Or great night, I should say.